Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
Well, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It's Sunday Night Live. It is the zoo, folks. We got, YouTube. We've got the thepreparedmind.club, and we've got subscribestar.com. We're all together, all of us animals. Now, Monday through Friday, only Subscribestar and only the thepreparedmind.club premium members get to ask live questions. But on Sunday, it's a little different. Sunday, everyone can come together. But if you got a question, if you got a thought, you got to hit that super chat button up there or hit the Venmo, PayPal, CashApp down below. And you can get your question right here. It'll come up right here. Give us a little quick example. Flash it on and off. Let's see what we got. See how it looks right there. Where is it? Where's it? Where's the question? There, see? That's what I wanted to show is, when you sign up and pow, right, you can have your question brought on board. Anyways, we're back. We are back on the Prepared Mind. Look, folks, here's another thing. Down below in the video description, you've got to go to the Prepared Mind BC, John the Prepared Mind, and Prepared Mind John, because those are backups. When we get a strike here, we go to the other channels. So if you're subscribed there and you hit the bell, right? There's a notification bell right down here. You hit that bell, it'll send you a message and tell you where we're at, right? What's going on. Anyways, let's do this. Let's get into the good stuff. We've got a lot of thinking to do, right? It is the prepared mind that chance favors. Right, you need to have stuff, food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You've got to have a plan. Now, folks, just as an advisory warning, our good friends down there in Southern California, guess what they're getting that they normally don't? And they're getting an awful lot of it. They're getting a lot of snow. They're getting snowed in. Now, normally you think of snow as, well, that's a good thing. Reindeers and Santa. Right, it's winter and you go skiing or tobogganing or whatever. No, these people are snowed in Southern California, and they're running out of food after just a few days. That's right, folks. When you're snowed in, you can't get in, can't get out. People are trapped. It's kind of like shit. It's the fan. It is. You just can't be. You can't wait. You have to be ready all the time. You can't wait and go afterwards. You go, I guess it's time to get prepared because now we see what's going on. Every time something like this happens, something bad happens, it's like, there's your sign. There's your warning, right? Whether it's train wreck in Ohio or snow in Southern California or fruitcakes burning stores up in Portland, or name your trouble. Name your trouble. Anyways, let's start off this show with Darcy T, who has sent in her $50 PayPal Super Chat donation. And she kicks off the show just like she always kicks off the show. She says, "Good evening, John. Seems like lots of things are going up in smoke lately. Any word on the mysterious orange railroad car that appeared to be pre-positioned at the exact place where the derailment would happen?" I tell you what. There has been a lot of stuff going up in smoke lately, Darcy. Uman and I were just talking about that as part of the pre-show, shall we say, bullshit session, where we bullshit about stuff and talk, we throw things around. There's a lot of mysterious stuff going on. Who is in charge of it? Who is responsible? You know what? I get done. I don't want to just end on this. I think we need to move from Darcy, when I get done with it, right to Uman's comment. right? Are these train derailments? Are these the World Economic Forum? Is this just coincidence? Or is this train unions causing some action? Remember when I was complaining about all those ships stacked up off the port of LA, anchored in the middle of the ocean, just offshore, not in the middle of the ocean, but out in the ocean, offshore, because all of a sudden, the dock workers, the union workers in LA forgot how to unload ships, move shipping containers, put them on trucks and put them on trains and send them around the country. All of a sudden, when unions weren't happy, they forget how to do their job. Just makes me wonder, is it a mystery, or is this intentional? Or do we have strange bedfellows? Right now, I mean, who do you blame? Right? Who do you blame? Unions are left wing. Unions are Democrat. Unions are socialist, folks. Now, there's a lot of Republicans who are part of unions, and I understand the good part of having a union. It helps keep corporations honest. But at the same time, unions donate to leftists. They donate to socialist Democrats. But I want to ask this of unions. You keep pushing these Democrats, and what have they done? They've sent your companies overseas. All those good manufacturing jobs in America, gone. Unions, why did you support those Democrats? And I know Republicans voted for that shit too, to send stuff out of the country. It's a giant mess, folks. It is a giant shitstorm that we're dealing with. Are you prepared for it all? Uman, if you're ready, I would love to deal with the subject that you want to tackle tonight, right? We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Folks, SHTF is not comfortable. It's not. It's absolutely not comfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable physically, psychologically. It's going to be uncomfortable in every way imaginable. All right, so where are we at? Mr. Uman, have you got your okay, go ahead and put her on the screen, man. Flip it on up here. I know we're ready. Oh, there we are. You just want to talk about it.
Hey, oh, I thought you wanted me to come on and talk about it.
Yeah, let's do that. I like that even better. I wasn't sure if you'd combed your hair yet, and we're ready for the show.
I put my pants on before I got into the studio. Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. All right, so you had an interesting perspective on the train derailments that no one else has really caught. So you had kind of an epiphany there, a way to look at this differently.
Yeah, I mean, I hear all the screaming about the derailments that happened in Palestine, Ohio, because there was some, glamorous chemical spills and all fires and stuff. And then I saw that, was it Friday night or last night or something? There was another derailment in, where was it? Springfield, Ohio. And hardly made the news, no fires, no big dangerous chemical stuff. I mean, there were 3 oil tankers. There was another another tanker that had fluorine in it for, fluorinating water. I can't talk tonight. And there was another one that
diesel
had
tanker there too, a tank full of diesel fuel?
It was diesel exhaust fluid, the DEF.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, nothing super scary or dangerous there, so nobody's talking about that. But, if you question, some of these people that are out there going, oh, my God, we're under attack. The government's trying to kill Ohio for being in a Trump zone and all this stuff. It's like, you know what? They since then, I mean, we've seen the video of axles on fire underneath these cars because some alarm didn't go off and some bearing failed or something like that. And caused the derailment, and I contend that, okay, sure, there may be sabotage, but the interesting thing is I haven't seen anybody look at this from the angle of, could this be sabotage by the unions against the rail companies because they basically busted their strike and didn't give them the contract they wanted, and then our illustrious administration stepped in and pretty much crammed it down their throats. So I'm not saying that it's the entire union doing this, but there could be some pissed off rogue individuals there, because they were all trying to get more money under the guise of increased safety and stuff, and all these other things. So
and it doesn't take an entire huge conspiracy. It can just be a couple of guys not doing their fucking job.
Right.
Putting their hands in their pockets for 8 hours.
Yeah, not noticing that wheel bearing is bad or burnt and loose or whatever it is, Yeah. And it doesn't always have to be the big, super secret, scary conspiracy thing. Sometimes pretty easy solution. It's like that Occam's razor thing, right? Sometimes the easiest solution is the correct one.
Right. The simplest explanation is typically the correct one.
Yeah. And there's no doubt that over the last decades that there has been a lack of maintenance on tracks and equipment and everything else. And, we continue to ship all the stuff that we were making money at to let them be profitable and do those things. We keep shipping that all offshore and, reducing our manufacturing base further and further. We got people leaving the skilled trades, nobody coming in to replace them. And, I don't find it honestly very surprising that these things are happening.
I find it to be the consequences of a different conspiracy altogether. And that other conspiracy, I think, falls right in line with what you're describing. Is they're not doing the maintenance on the rail lines. They're not doing the maintenance on the cars. They're not doing the maintenance on the trucks. They're not doing the maintenance on the bridges. And so we're having more of these accidents, or what appears to be more of these accidents. And it has to do with the companies saving money today so that the CEOs and CFOs and COOs can all get a bigger bonus. And they can pay dividends, right, to their big shot supporters. And look out, there's a consequence for not doing their jobs and taking care of things. The same way many of these companies they don't keep an inventory of products. Now they manufacture as needed. That way they're not paying an inventory tax, and they're not having to put money up for materials just to be manufactured and sit on a shelf for months and months. So I know it's about the money. It's about making everything look good for the stock market. It's a giant scam, and we're paying for it. You pay for it in slower services and goods. You pay for it with these accidents.
Yeah, all you have to do to make it happen is to do nothing. You don't actually have to go out there and do something to cause it. All you have to do is nothing, and it will happen by itself.
Do nothing, yeah. These are, I think the downstream consequences, decisions that were made years ago and continue to be made, and it's sending our jobs overseas, and so there's less money for support here, and so it just doesn't get paid. Now when it comes down to Darcy's mysterious orange railroad car, right? Is that a coincidence that there was another car there? This is where I just don't know. I would like to address that directly because she asked about it, but it looks like a train wreck from a bunch of toys, just shit scattered everywhere.
I did not see that particular picture, so I don't know exactly what that car was or where it was or when it was.
But as far as a lot of things going up in smoke, I agree 100%. From grocery stores.
Yeah, that was the other food. Our food is under attack again today.
Well, we got that. But now, when Bill Gates's brand new state-of-the-art dynamic We Love the World stores, when those caught on fire over in Europe, now that I felt probably was arson. Just taking a wild guess there. But these old decrepit facilities where, once again, they're not spending the money doing the maintenance. They're not certifying or making sure their fire systems are working or their whatever.
They could have been grandfathered in and not had a fire system, or an inspector could have been paid off to look the other way because they couldn't afford to fix it.
That's correct. Yeah. Whoops.
And the other thing that I keep trying to point out to people too is that, if you notice an event and then you put a magnifying glass on it and you find every little event like that across the country or around the world, it's going to make it seem a lot worse than it is. Because we talked about this last week, or possibly even a couple weeks ago, but with these train wrecks and derailments, it used to be over 6,000 a year back in the 70s and 80s. And now last year, it's steadily come down, and it's been just over 1,000 derailments in the last year. But now if you start reporting on every single one of those derailments, you're going to be reporting on 3 a day.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden, everybody's going to think, oh my God, what's happening here? But it's really the same old normal thing that happens every day that normally wouldn't make it outside of maybe the local paper or, that the Chicago News at night or something like that. But now, people point it out and they pick every story nationwide, however big or small it is. And then all of a sudden everybody thinks, oh my God, there's something really nasty and big going on here. And I don't see the numbers to support that.
What made the East Palestine wreck so explosive was because it was so explosive.
Right.
It's a particularly nasty wreck. And what made it appear more conspiratorial, in my opinion, was the absolute lack of resolve and willingness to do something about it with the federal government. Whether it was the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Pirate Buttigieg, or FEMA, not willing to take a stand and do anything. It gave the appearance that they wanted it to happen. And that's, I think, is an awful mistake politically. I think it's an awful mistake socially, because it's just fueled the conspiracy theories. Sure. And it actually gives it, in my opinion, some validity. Did they cause the wreck? Probably not. That probably was because of, as you've suggested, bad maintenance. We've seen the glowing bearings, right? But you compound that with the government unwilling to do anything for its own people while handing billions of dollars over to Ukraine. And who knows, God knows how many billions of dollars to illegal aliens, right? It appears, and that's why I say, yeah, they're trying to destroy this country, because I think there is enough evidence to support that, from the open southern border to doing absolutely nothing for America.
Right, and that's most easily explained by their sheer ignorance and incompetence.
Yes. All right. I think we're off to a good start on this Sunday Night Live. The zoo is back. We're off of our strike. We're out of the corner. We're no longer in trouble. And so it's good to be back on the Prepared Mind channel. But again, I can't tell people enough. You've got to look below into the thing and subscribe to all 4 channels. And we only broadcast on one every day. So if you subscribe and hit that bell, then you'll figure out if I'm not on one, you'll get a message that says it's right over here. Anyways, there it is. Enough of that. Let's get back into the questions. I'll let you do your thing, Mr. Uman. Make sure the crowd.
Grab the wrench.
You got the blue wrench on?
Yeah, I gotta go grab the wrench here and get to it. So,
all right, man. Yes, sir. All right, that's great. Love having Uman on the show, folks. There's so much work and thinking that goes on here. And want to thank you, of course, but there's just a great team of people out there. Great team of people. Let's do this. Let's see. I want to jump into this mainly because, thank you, Jolene, mainly because earlier today I woke up and I saw that picture of that nice blonde lady flipping off Dr. Fauci. And I thought, is this a joke? And it turned out it was real, right? She pretended that she liked him and approved of him, got him to pose with her for a picture, because she's a little cutie. And then she flipped him the bird while her friend or boyfriend took the picture. Good stuff. But it brought up again the fact that this little bastard is responsible for so much damage in our country and also around the world. Did you know, SHTF, by the way, did you know that in 2022, New Zealand, that's right, the country where, was it Jacinda Ardern, I think is her name, she resigned their president. She was like a Gretchen Whitmore. She was like a Gavin Newsom from California. She was kind of like a Governor Prickster, only she was worse, I think, worse. She was El Presidente down there. New Zealand recorded its largest increase in deaths in a century, folks. In a century. Take a wild guess. Hey. Yeah, everywhere that they said, you will take it. You'll take the Jim Jones juice. We see problems, right? Largest increase in deaths in a century. What do you think was the one factor, the single biggest factor that for some reason doctors around the world just cannot see? They can't wrap their arms around it. To me, it's disgusting. And it just really goes to show how these doctors, folks, have sold all of us out. All right, well, let's keep going, folks. There's a lot to talk about tonight on the Zoo. We've got an awfully crazy week coming up. And I just, let me use my psychic powers. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's coming. The Prophet of Prepping says there's even more stupid coming. We've got 300 people live on the show. Share that internet address. Let's get more people here. I'd love to hit 500 people live as we make our big comeback here. And then your questions, your comments, your super chat donations will get you and your question, your thoughts, whether it's, let's see, a question, a comment, a statement, a prediction, a look at history, whatever you want to talk about. This is your show. This is your chance. This is the Zoo, and it's Sunday. So Jolene, who do we want to step up? Who wants to step up? And it is Chin Music stepping up. And he did a big Venmo donation, $102.23. So he did $100 plus a $223. Oh, and I'll tell you what, because of that, right? Any donation, $50 or more, buys me a shot of Glenlivet. Oh, that sounded good, huh? Oh, yeah. Smells like a dream. So thank you, Chin Music, very much. Yes, sir. That is the good stuff. Woo! And he says this, did you see the FAA diversity hire get laid to waste by Senator Ted Budd? He asked this guy 7 questions on basic federal aviation administration regulations and their relative importance, and he failed all of them. 0 for 7 is not a good average. Senator Budd quipped at one point, quote, let's try another one and see if we can get lucky. This lunacy has to be stopped, writes Chin Music. And in conclusion, Chin Music says, or we have to separate ourselves from these idiots. As a nation, we cannot function competitively on a global scale like this. And I think that's right where the rubber meets the road, Mr. Chin. Is they don't want us to compete. They don't want America competitive on a global scale anymore. They meaning the socialist Democrats, the rhino Republicans, and the globalist corporations using Washington, D.C. as a springboard to cripple this country. First of all, folks, it used to be 50 independent states who come together in a union to deal with international affairs, but within their states, they make their own decisions. But over the last, 230 years, these anti-American scumbags, and they've always been around, folks. There have always been loyalists to England, loyalists to the bankers, loyalists to other, shall we say, spiritual belief systems. Those loyalists have always sought to destroy America. So how do they do it? They convince us all that the federal government is all powerful. And it's done it. Now that we truly are in a global economy, folks, as independent sovereign nations, it's still global. In order to be high tech, we've all got to rely on each other. So now the federal government, the U.S. national government out of D.C., it controls what is going on. Our, shall we say, our nation's interactivity. In high-tech world, you've got to have this mineral and this metal and that substance from all around the world. But they're screwing it up. And it seems to be intentionally so. When the president of the United States, who won his election by hiding in his basement, literally, folks, literally hiding in his Delaware home, and he won with the most votes ever. I just have some questions. And he continuously hires incompetent morons to run every bureaucracy. From Merrick Garland with the Department of Justice, he is the Attorney General. He was grilled last week by Senator Ted Cruz and others, and he was a stammering, blathering, lying, bullshitting, subject-changing idiot. And now the FAA diversity hire, right, out of LAX, this guy has no idea what's going on. He couldn't answer a single question. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I am not a Federal Aviation Administration specialist. I don't work at an airport. I don't know these questions any more than this guy. But would you hire me on a federal level to administrate the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, knowing that I know absolutely jack shit about it? Now, I may be a great administrator, right? I may know how to run an office. I may know how to make decisions and appoint experts and have them tell me what's the best move, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But don't you think that the guy who heads that ought to be in charge with at least a modicum of understanding about the general basics? Yet here he is, folks. This is why America is being dragged down, because the federal government has convinced everyone it's the most powerful institution. And they've put themselves in power in Washington, and now they're crashing everything around us. It truly is. They're doing all they can to destroy us. I have no doubts. Now, we can continue and look back at just what Uman and I were talking about. The train wreck derailment in Ohio. An absolute fucking catastrophe. Was it a conspiracy or just a really bad accident? Well, I don't know. I'm concerned about the rail car Darcy brought up, but I don't know. I was concerned when I saw that wheel bearing glowing right in the pictures of, what happened. It's like, okay, that's probably what ignited things. When you have a couple million tons of weight pushing down on a steel wheel, if that bearing fails, it's still going to turn until it melts down. It becomes a glowing, red-hot ignition source. Splash a little bit of toxic chemicals on there, you've got an explosion. But, it's just gotten out of hand. The problem is that, the federal government didn't react, and it looked bad. People got sick, and it looked bad. The Biden administration looked the other way, which looks really bad. These people are incompetent. They are bringing it down. As Chin Music described, they're doing all they can. Not just in aviation, not just in law enforcement, not just in, the infrastructure, but in all ways. In every way, folks. I've got more examples that we're going to get into as we go of why we're in shit hits the fan. It has hit the fan. It's just, how bad is it in your world? Well, if you live anywhere in Ohio near the train wreck, you might be questioning the safety of the water you're drinking or bathing in. In fact, it was reported that a dam burst. It was more like a dirt berm that burst and was kind of holding back some water and some of the chemicals. And that burst and, just made a bigger mess again. It's a fucking mess. It needs to be fixed. Where's the government? Where's Biden? He's probably pinning a medal on some trans person who managed to wake up and get dressed and go do their job today. Fruitcakes. Every last one of them fruitcakes. And we'll be talking about them too. This is all part of, as far as I'm concerned, a concerted effort to bring the United States of America down to the level of third world nations and status. I think that is what is interesting to them. That's what the powers that be, are interested in, bringing America down. All right, let's do this. Let's do some super chat donations. Jolene, who do we want to bring up next? And it is Matt D with a great $10 super chat donation. He says, we missed you, John. Was it Bill Clinton who sent the jobs away to get this ball rolling? Let me do that. It truly was Bill Clinton who took some huge steps. Now, if you remember, go back to the 1992 election campaign season. You had Bill Clinton versus George H.W. Bush, the dad. And also Ross Perot. Ross Perot ran as an independent. Little guy, big ears, big nose, Ross Perot. And he kept telling everybody that there would be a big sucking sound of jobs going overseas if he wasn't elected. And we kept going the way we're going, there'd be a big sucking sound, is what he said. And he was right. That sound was corporations taking their businesses out of America, using cheap labor in third world countries, raw materials gotten by who knows who, but they weren't mined, they weren't processed, they weren't transported by union jobs in America, were they? No, no, no. They went overseas where people are not in unions and they're getting paid jack shit. So these corporations make huge profits, which is great. I mean, corporations should make profits and then pay taxes. But if they're making that money overseas, now, yeah, of course, all corporations that are American have to pay taxes. But I'm sure if you structure it just right, you don't pay jack shit. Oh yeah, folks, it's a giant fucking scam. It's a big club and you ain't in it, as George Carlin said. So yes, after the 92 election, Bill Clinton took office and he really pushed. He really pushed and allowed and passed all he could. In fact, Bill Clinton did more than just allow corporations to set up shop in China. He also sold space technology to the Chinese. Before Bill Clinton, the Chinese couldn't put a missile into space. They didn't have the math for it. Isn't that interesting that they didn't have the math to do it? So I think it was Loral Space. And I heard this on the Rush Limbaugh show in the 90s. The technology was given to the Chinese by Loral Space because Bill Clinton signed a piece of paper allowing it. And now the Chinese can, well, launch rockets into space and launch nuclear-tipped weapons on ICBMs that could hit America. Thank you, Bill Clinton. And that great sucking sound has been going ever since. Ever since. All right. Great topic. Great question. Thank you, Matt. And Jolene, let's do it again. Who do we have next? It is Luke Thompson with a $5 super chat donation. If you have a question, super chat donation button up there, or do Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. They all work. They make sure your thoughts, and I'll make you famous, Luke. This is what he had to say. This question is for the audience in the live chat. Everybody name one thing that you did for your preps this weekend. That is a great thing to throw out there, Luke. Very good. Yeah, what did you do this weekend? Now, I said Friday night, that's it. I'm going to take Saturday off, going to relax, be back Sunday. Did I do something to prep? What preps did I improve? How did I do it? Well, I can tell you what I did, folks. I organized my preps. I organized my storage space. I maximized my space. I felt that was the thing to do. Sometimes things get crowded. I got rid of stuff I didn't need. I made sure the stuff that I'm going to need most importantly is available. Did the same with some food, some long-term storage food. That's what I did. Other people, did you buy preps? Did you work on your plan? Did you do something? And I think that's a great thing. If you do something every week, at least, you'll continue to improve your preparation for what's coming. So that's a great topic to bring up, Luke. I'm glad you did that. That's really wonderful. Asking everybody, what's that one thing? Name one thing you did. Ooh, man. I'm going to bring you on board, buddy. Here you come, dude. 3, 2, 1.
You keep putting me on the wrong side here.
It's not the Prepared Mind Studio. It's the Prepared Mind Stud.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. I think he planned it that way.
It should say the Prepared Mind Studios, but I've got my little icon there in the corner. Here, let's get rid of that. There we go. I still feel like a stud. I don't care. Anyways, what did you do this weekend for prepping?
What I did, I was doing some maintenance on the mobile command center because I'm going to have to probably be heading back south again in the not too distant future. So I wanted to make sure all the tires were still good. I had the proper air and didn't get around to crawling underneath there, getting all dirty and greasing it up. But that's going to be an upcoming weekend.
Very good. And then I happen to know that something big for prepping and you is happening down south. You're working on plans with other people and helping people. It's great.
Yeah, we're making some plans for the future here, so we'll
see
how that all pans out. It could be quick, it could be a long, drawn-out process, but I'll have to see how it goes.
I do know that you help others as well as yourself quite a bit, and I want to say thank you to that. That's really important. I know that I can't name names, but there's a lot of people down south that you're getting involved with.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. All right.
Can't get out of here soon enough.
I don't blame you. When it was time for me to leave California, I was very happy to do it. There was no reluctance to leave.
No, there won't be here either.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I did this weekend, let's see, I went out and you might tell I got some color here.
Yeah.
I did some swimming, and there's two types of swimming in the South. There's swimming in the Gulf or the Atlantic, if you will, and you risk getting chewed up by a shark, or you swim in fresh water and risk getting chewed up by an alligator. So you become a fast swimmer and pay attention. So.
Yep. And snakes and jellyfish season, right?
Ooh, and sometimes the red tide will get you.
Yeah. My son was telling me they got one of those in there right now in the Gulf side, Central Florida there, right?
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. They I'm sure a dam burst somewhere. All right, man, I'll let you go.
Those damn dams.
All righty, folks. There's a lot of concern in Washington, D.C. about World War III that's been started with Russia. One of the idiot politicians / bureaucrats actually admitted that, Ukraine is fighting this war for America. And I think the world is they're coming to an end. They've had it with this shit. So I'm expecting something very bad to happen as a consequence. In Hungary, Viktor Orban said, quote, "In a war taking place in Europe, the Americans have the final word." He's not happy about the fact that Washington, D.C. is deciding how this war is to be fought and how it's to be supported by getting behind Ukraine. Now, Viktor Orban, being a Hungarian president, is concerned about the Hungarian citizens who live in Ukraine being forced to go fight on behalf of Volodymyr Zelensky's war dreams. War dreams, folks, that's right. He has been fantasizing, I'm sure, about this a long time, being some great hero and going up against Russia. But yeah, Hungary has had it, folks, and other countries have as well. World War III has started. Hungary is fighting against the war. And it's incredible. Can you imagine being the president of a country like Hungary? That's like being the governor of a state like, well, Texas or Florida or Missouri or Colorado. It's interesting, right? Just little old Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. He said his country's leadership is strong enough to keep the war away from our country. What does that mean? Right? He's doing all he can to stop it. He said there are some who want to force Hungary into the war, and they are not picky about the means with which to achieve that goal. He's throwing it out there. Right? He's throwing it out there. He complained about European countries. He says, quote, "Europe has retired from the debate. In the decisions adopted in Brussels, I recognize American interests more frequently than European ones." So it's really starting to look like, folks, half of Europe doesn't want this. Now, I know some countries do, right? Britain and other NATO countries are all for this, right? Now, there's going to be bigger trouble coming, right? Between Turkey, Hungary, Finland, and Sweden, because they want to get into NATO and other countries don't want them in there. They're primed, folks. They're very much primed. They're starting to question this. And this is one last thing I want to tell you that Viktor Orban said before we move to the next piece of this. He said it's not right for them to ask us to take them on board while they're spreading blatant lies about Hungary, about the rule of law in Hungary, about our democracy and our life here. Right? Now, who are we talking about? Well, that would be Sweden, in Stockholm, just making up lies about Hungary and then saying, well, let us into NATO. And they're like, well, why should we vote to let you in, says Viktor Orban, since you're lying about us. In other words, they're a bunch of backstabbing bullshit artists. It's a mess, folks. Now, over here in America, both Democrats and Republicans are now becoming split over how much military aid should be sent to Ukraine. I don't know why this is finally happening, but after a year, they're finally going to start questioning what we're doing. Let's see. In my opinion, Zelensky, when he threatened America's sons and daughters, that should have been it. He should have been cut off 100%. 100%. In fact, this war should have never been started. It wasn't a war of aggression. It was a war of, what do we want to call this? Well, to the Russians, it was self-defense because their people were being slaughtered and murdered in eastern Ukraine. They were being threatened, Russia was, by NATO and Ukraine because of the spread and proliferation of NATO military forces and bases getting close to Russia against what NATO said they wouldn't do. So yeah, we've had all kinds of problems from the very beginning with this, especially the antagonization of Russia and Putin in causing this. And they're pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Up to, folks, and including, and let me remind you, that the Ukraine military was lobbing bombs, missiles, mortars, explosives at the nuclear power station in Zaporizhia, like the largest nuclear power plants in all of Europe, and the Ukrainian military was trying to explode it, destroy it, while Russians held and controlled it. It's fascinating, huh? Why would they do that? And then, well, what made it even more obvious, transparent, was that the media kept saying Russia was trying to blow it up. It's like, how hard would it be for Russia to blow up a nuclear power plant with their military literally right outside the door, on the grounds? How hard would it be for Russia to blow that fucking thing up? It's just been a complete shit show, as far as I'm concerned, an absolute shit show. Well, let's do this. Jolene, we've got some more super chat donations. Let's see what we got in the form of questions. Who are we going to make famous next? And it is D. Orse, who wants to be famous. He says, John, I'm assuming that you and Steve from Corsair Trainers know each other. I'm assuming that you know who Staff Sergeant BA from Step 1 Survival as well. That's a... me and Steve don't know each other. And I don't know Staff Sergeant BA either. Do not know either of those gentlemen. It would be great to meet them and great to work with them. But we've been working here, where I'm at, independent of many others. It's It's been a struggle, folks, since coming back from the RMZ. It's been an absolute struggle. And I think everyone is struggling to stay relevant, to stay on the air, to stay funded. And this is really what I want to thank you guys for, is you guys have funded this show. It's your show. I am just the grateful host who gets to sit here. I would love to meet Steve, and I would love to meet a lot of these other YouTubers and other social media guys who are out there trying to save America, save our republic, wake Americans up, get them trained, get them stacked, this high with preps, and get people trained up. It would be great. I would love that. It's just, how much time do you have? What kind of resources do you have? 6 months ago, I ended up having to go back to work, additional work, in fact, on top of what I was already doing, just to make ends meet. They're really fucking with us, folks. And it doesn't matter whether you're up north or down south or on the east or west coast. They're making it harder and harder and harder. They go after us. And a lot of us, well, personally as well. They come after us personally and attack us personally. Very interesting stuff. All right. Let us skip that, or skip forward onto the next thing. Skip to Malou. Jolene, who do we have next? We have Boomer21 with 20 Canadian dollars. Thank you, Boomer. Good to see you here again as well. You, Diorce, Chin Music, and many others are a weekly staple, bringing different perspectives, thoughts, ideas, and questions to the round table. And here we go with you. He says, speaking about woke, I just got hired by Air Canada as a ramp agent, and training starts tomorrow. However, only 3 out of the 20 candidates, including myself, are from here, meaning Canada. The rest are from the third world. That is incredible. It would seem to me, Boomer, that from my experience, based on my investigation and observations, companies that have a public profile, they tend to be more woke, and they tend to promote the woke and show everyone how woke they are. Now, ramp agent. Would you be a ramp agent that, like, for people who are about to board, the ramp agent helps make sure everyone's lined up, they take tickets, they make sure everyone gets on board, right? They find the right gates, they're at the right terminal, et cetera, et cetera. I'm thinking that ramp agents do those jobs. So you're right out there in front of the public. Interesting that only 3 of you out of 20 are actual Canadians. The rest are from the third world. It sounds about right. Now, I had some information on that. What I think, right, is going on. And what you talked about here dovetails completely. Dovetails. Let's see. Third world. Okay, here it is. Here it is, folks. Get this. Big story on the news over the weekend. Employers are frequently overlooking resumes which include special pronouns. People who have they and them as pronouns. I mean, who the fuck refers to themselves as they or them? Us and we, right? People who demonstrate on their job form that they are special that way, they're woke. Well, as far as I'm concerned, employers should overlook them. They should overlook these fruitcakes. Not that they're bad people, but as an employer, you want the best possible candidates in every job, except, I guess, airlines and other public corporations, right, that want to make sure everyone knows that they're super woke. So they're hiring people from around the world who don't speak the right language, can't speak very well. And also, you as a customer, imagine you're going to get on Air Canada, And for some reason, when you transferred from one plane to another, your luggage got lost. Well, you're less likely to make a big stink if you're complaining to someone from India or Pakistan or Morocco, because you're not going to go yell at these people because, number one, they probably don't understand you. Number two, you would look like a racist bigot for yelling at some person, right? Like, where the fuck's my luggage at? You incompetent bunch of idiots lost it. You're not allowed to do that. So yeah, it kind of makes it easier for companies to get out of trouble that way. At the same time, looking like they're super diversified and woke. But jobs, folks, companies, a lot of companies where they don't have that big public image, they're not hiring these fruitcakes. I mean, they don't deserve a job more than anyone else. So if you're, let's see, intelligent, moral, decent, and a normal human being who will not make that company look fucking stupid, they should get the job first. They're more qualified. I mean, if I was managing a large corporation, would I want a bunch of these woke idiots running around? I'll tell you what, folks, they make other people feel uncomfortable. Being straight does not make anyone feel uncomfortable. Straight white male right here. No one ever said, you know, John, working around you makes me feel uncomfortable because you're white and you speak very good English and you're very professional. You're very knowledgeable, very competent, and that makes me feel, well, unsafe. Makes me feel nervous. No, that never happened. Now, company politics aside, right? Personal disagreements with someone's professional opinion is aside. No one ever felt uncomfortable with me because I was a normal, straight, white male. But I can tell you, working around fruitcakes makes everybody fucking nervous. Number one, they look ridiculous with their purple, green, blue, yellow, whatever color hair, pink. They look fucking ridiculous. Their manners, you don't know what the fuck they are. Is that a girl? Is it a boy? Is it a we? Is it a they? Is it a fire hydrant, a dog, a giraffe? You don't have a fucking clue. You're afraid of saying anything to them because they're going to get offended at everything. No wonder employers are not hiring these fruitcakes, because they are all lawsuits waiting to happen. They reduce morale. They're more interested in the color of their fingernails than doing their jobs correctly. They are a bunch of fruitcakes, folks. And by hiring them, you tell them, yes, you can be an abnormal jackass, and we'll do everything we can to try and make you happy so that you can get through life. No, sorry. You can go join the mindless, mentally deranged on the streets and decide whether you want that for your life or you're going to straighten the fuck up, grow your hair out normal, accept the genitals that are in your pants, and go to work. Just my 2 cents. Anyways, it's a great topic. Great topics indeed. All right. What do we want to do? We want to go left. We want to go right. We want to take it straight down the middle. This is the Prepared Mind channel, and it is Sunday Night Live. It is time for the zoo and you. Jolene, what do we want to do next? Pow, who is up? It is David G with a $10 super chat donation. And he says, John, have you made it down to the Redneck Riviera yet? I highly recommend the Florabama if you get a chance. Semper Fi, and thank you for the insightful analysis and motivational encouragement. I tell you what, Dave, damn right. Semper Fi, and I have been to areas known as the Redneck Riviera down here. Folks, we just topped 400 people live. That's more than President Biden or Camel Toes Harris or anyone in Congress the Democrats get when they go live. They don't get this many people. I'm just a regular dude here in the Prepared Mind studio. And yeah, I tell you what, I've been to the Redneck Riviera in a few places. I love it. Absolutely love it. The fresh seafood, good. It's incredible. The crabs, right? Whatever. It's just great. I've even had gator bites, folks. It doesn't taste as good as chicken, but you drown anything in enough secret sauce and it tastes better. Anyways, as far as insightful analysis, the analysis that I try and bring to the show is to look at things as they're presented and then look at things from a different perspective. Someone who doesn't buy their bullshit. Someone who says, maybe there's another explanation for this. Just like Uman brought up, well, maybe this train wreck wasn't part of a giant conspiracy, but rather the consequences of very, shall we say, selfish and greed-oriented business practices. Made possible, as others have pointed out, by the policies enacted by former politicians. And it's all done right in front of our faces. You can't not see it. It's right there. Anyways, Redneck Riviera, you bet. Now, as far as encouragement, I do want to encourage everybody to keep fighting, to keep calling, to keep texting, emailing, and getting a hold of people, folks. It is you, and I give you guys full credit for what is going on, for how things are well. Now, the courts have struck down Biden's ghost gun rule. Remember that? No more ghost guns. Well, instantly somebody started suing, right, the Biden administration, the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives, right? The ATF drug into court. Now, they said, nope, it's bad. So this is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court, ultimately, folks. Now, remember the movie, The Empire Strikes Back. Well, this is The Republic Strikes Back. The empire of Biden is going to take a boot-gig pain pill, right? Because their butts are hurting. Now, how this is working. For those who don't understand the Second Amendment and how it's been upheld in the courts, the Bruin decision changed the way firearms law in the U.S. is looked at. Because what it does is it requires statutes that regulate firearms. It has to be, shall we say, bound. In the foundation of it has to agree with the text of the Second Amendment, the history of the Second Amendment, and the traditions of the Second Amendment. So anything that violates the literal text, the historical perspective, and the traditions of the people. Now that, my friends, truly is common law. Because the traditions, the culture, the history of a people is their law. And for some reason, this actually got used for the Second Amendment. And it's still being used. So the judge in the case, right, over the ghost gun rule, he agreed with the statement and granted defense distributed, right, which is fighting the case, defense distributed a preliminary injunction. So now the case is going to the Fifth Circuit, and the Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms is going to have to defend its position that it has every right to regulate and ban ghost guns. So this is what Defense Distributed had to say about the case. Quote, "This is not just a blow to the ATF, who pushed a new definition of firearm at their peril. It is also a defeat for Giffords, who were the agents of this illegal attempt to expand the Gun Control Act through the APA process. Their lobbying and regulatory laundry has now spectacularly backfired." That's right, folks. They have really screwed the pooch on this one, caused themselves a lot of trouble, and it's going to make the Second Amendment even stronger. Now, your part in this, I always say prep to action. It is you guys making this happen. Only by texting, emailing, calling Washington, D.C. can you make this your fight. Otherwise, the Republic, folks, is in the hands of lawyers. So join the fight and keep punching communists in their nutsacks, is what I say. Encourage Washington politicians. Uphold the Second Amendment. encourage these judges, right, to uphold the Second Amendment, right? And hopefully the lawyers keep fighting and winning this the right way. That's a great case. I wanted to give some positive encouragement, folks. The Republic strikes back, but they aren't giving up and going away. Not these left-wing lunatics. Jolene, let's do this. Who is next on the Prepared Mind channel? Who are we going to make famous with what they have to say? And it is Diorce, and he's back with a $12 super chat donation. And 12 is for the 12-gauge triple buck Magnum. Woo! He says, this is not related to my last super chat. What is sad is the fact that we have bad actors in the prepping and survival community that are predatory and mislead new people to the community. I'll tell you what, to address this, I tell you what, I'll address this a couple of ways. I've been here we're closing in on finishing my 10th year. We're in the 10th year, but finishing the 10th year. And I have communicated with, on many occasions, many different survivalists and ex-military, regular folks, YouTube creators, wannabe creators who never quite made it, some who got started and did their thing, and others who have gotten much bigger than us, in fact. But I'll tell you what, in many cases, there can be a very uncomfortable feeling when dealing with people. You learn who they are, and they don't really have the best interests of everyone else in mind. Like, for example, I think that we do, and that I say you need to get prepared. And I say, get what you need to get prepared. If you would like, go to thepreparedmind.club and look what we have looked at, tried, tested, etc. And you can buy things there. But no matter what, get them wherever you have to get them. You don't just buy from me in order to be my buddy, right? It's just another service that we provide. And everything that I say and talk about, I don't want you to take as gospel, but rather think about it and run it through your life, your thoughts, your belief system, your culture, your traditions, the history you understand, and see if it's true, right? Because I come from an odd place on the planet, right? California, right? I have some life experiences which are different. And we all have different life experiences depending on your age, your gender, your race, right? Everyone's different. Folks, guess what? There are actual gay people here on the Prepared Mind, and I don't give a shit, right? They're not the freaky perverts that are out there, though. And I hear from everybody, and I don't, I'm not here to pass judgment on good people. I'm here to point out the fucked up people who are trying to destroy our country, right? So the gay people know if they're not fruitcakes, that they're not fruitcakes. The women out there that are ass kickers know they're ass kickers. The men out there that are the same, you betcha. But there's been a lot of people who are predatory, and they mislead people, right? There wasn't a dam that broke in Ohio. It was a berm, a small, hastily made thing, dirt berm to contain. It was a containment, shall we say, a containment cell, and it failed. It was bad. But to call it a dam bursting is misleading. And I'm just using that as an example of how you can get people all riled up, make them afraid, scare people. And I'll tell you what, this is another thing, right? Scaring people. I try and speak about things that are actually happening, not to scare people, but to advise them. And to say, look around, look at what's happening, right? Should you be prepared, or is everything just fine always, no matter where you live? Well, down in LA, they're finding out you can die of fucking snow, right? Other parts of the country, what was it? Flint, Michigan. They had freaking green goo and sludge just flowing out of the side of a dirt mound on, what was it? On a highway or a freeway. It looked like antifreeze pumping out of a hillside. This is a number of years ago. It's like, would you want to drink the groundwater from there? I don't think so. Anyways, Man, if you want to weigh in on this, you can pop on screen and tell me what you think about people that are misleading and et cetera, et cetera. If you have an opinion, if not, I'll let you sit back. And there he is. All right.
Oh, I have strong opinions about that.
I thought you might, man, but I wasn't going to force you. So give us your thoughts.
You know, if these guys are coming out there and constantly trying to sell you the solution to the problem that they're telling you about, they're probably full of shit. A lot of these guys started out and it seemed like they were pretty decent guys and really trying to do a good thing, but then it turned into a business and all of a sudden everything is fear porn and clickbait. You know, and I've even had some people ask me, well, how is that any different than what John does? I said, well, you see, the difference is John provided a service that people were asking for, and he doesn't sit there and tell you every show, all show long about how you got to get to the store. I mean, you mention it, that's fine. I mean, it's capitalism, you know, there's nothing wrong with making some money off of that stuff. But
a lot of people don't know we have the preparedmind.club as a store.
Right, because you are terrible at self-promoting.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's good to point out that I'm shitty at something.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like, it's one thing that, you know, people requested that, and you and Jolene put together a great little site there. And it's a easy place for people to go if they want to do that. And the other thing that I never hear any of them say is that, you know, you tell them, hey, we have an affiliate link for X, Y, or Z. You can get it there, or you can get it somewhere else. I don't care where you get it, but get it.
Just fucking get it.
Yeah, these other guys, oh my God, if you don't use their link, it's the other thing with these guys too is that, you know, they turn their viewers into cult members, you know, and if you ever criticize or question anything they say, then all these other cult members come jumping out and tell you that, oh, go back to sleep, you're just a sheep.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know that. I just had that experience today.
Yeah, I want people to use their minds, not set them on a shelf and believe me or anyone else, you know.
Right. I mean, we try to tell people critically analyze stuff. Look at all the facts. Don't just look at that headline. You know, read a paragraph or two or three into it where they really tell you the story. You know, and don't believe it because I told it to you or because John told it to you. You know, take it into consideration, do some research yourself, and then make up your own mind. You know, I mean, we have a lot of constructive conversations here, you know, in the chats, and, you know, we bounce ideas back and forth. And you could always tell members of certain other channels, groups that come in here, because if you say the wrong thing, then they're all over you and they call you a commie and they call you a denier and a sheep and go back to sleep. And if you don't see this, it's like, it's not a black and white kind of thing. And that's what they're doing. They're dividing us into this. You're either fully with us or you're fully against us. And the right is as guilty of doing it. And a lot of these creators are as guilty of doing that as the leftists are. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of an issue with charismatic leaders, and it's always been that way. You know, it's human nature to want a leader that they can follow blindly, so they don't have to think. They can rest that part of their mind and just regurgitate the words that they hear. And I really don't find that appealing.
No, I mean,
I don't want to be responsible for everyone else.
No, I mean, we have our disagreements about things in the background. You know, you think about it one way, I think about it another. You know, Kaz, Vaughn, everybody has their own way of looking at it, and we discuss it. And sometimes light bulbs go off and go, well, wait a minute. And when you put that and that together, all of a sudden you look over here, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, or I didn't look at it the way you were looking at it. I reconsidered. I changed my mind. I know you've changed your mind about some of the stuff I presented to you. So, you know, it's fun. You got to have that dialogue and that open mind to be able to have that discussion and take those things into consideration. Otherwise, you just have a weak mind.
Yeah,
and you're a cult member.
Yeah, this is not a pulpit that I speak from, and I don't want cult members and cult followers. I want people here who are thinking independently and also hopefully able to pass on that idea in a way that doesn't make you sound like a cult member. When I go through the airport in the past and there's one of those Hare Krishna dudes, right? You see him he's got shaved head with a little ponytail thing going, and he's going to tell you how his Dalai Lama is going to save the planet or whatever. And I don't want to talk to him because I know that they're just going to regurgitate sales talking points at me.
Yeah. It's not genuine conversation.
Yeah, you're not going to engage in anything meaningful. And so when you meet these other guys that, are on other channels, that they're just ding dongs, they're just there repeating someone else's words instead of using their own. I prefer that the context through which we get questions on here is usually just outstanding. You can tell these are real thinking human beings who have their own ideas and observations, and it's great.
Or real.
They're looking for little details like, well, that orange fucking train car, what was that about? Where's it at now?
Right.
Was that key to this? And other people, they just, going back to the Boston bombing, I still think, why didn't anyone else see the Hulk man who had his pants shredded vertically up and down from his knees down, yet he wasn't bleeding on his legs anywhere?
Yeah.
A lot of people caught the other stuff on that. That was such an incredible false flag. That you can't even find anything on it anymore.
Yeah, and I think the other thing besides just becoming a business for these guys is that they all of a sudden have 100,000, multiple hundreds of thousands of followers, and those followers are all eating up everything they're telling them and telling them how smart they are and how great they are and how good looking they are, and he tells them how smart and good looking and best audience on the internet and all this stuff, and it's just right. Like it all goes to all of their heads, and they construct this little thing, and nobody can think beyond that, and God forbid you question anything. The other thing I like is that if you disagree with them, they'll usually ban you. Canadian prepper.
Yeah, people here get banned for being assholes.
Yeah, you can't come here. Yeah, you can't come here and have an intellectual conversation. We can disagree. That's fine. I don't even ban people when they call me names, but then when it starts getting extremely disrespectful, that's when you got to go.
Yeah. Well, I do want constructive conversation. I want people to feel comfortable. I want people to think. I want people to help others wake the fuck up by using real thinking and not just talking points. Again, you meet that cult member. I meet him at, sporting goods stores, right? Some guy just starts spouting some shit off, and you're like, boy, you sound like that host, right? You can tell that they're full of shit. And
they're just repeating the stuff verbatim and throwing that out in the chat repeatedly, and it's always the same little talking point or the thing you heard on that other guy's channel earlier in the day when it popped up on your feed. Right.
So, yeah. Anyways, good. It's a good conversation. It's one I think we are going to continue to have, and it'll be quite disturbing to see if things get really nasty and violent. What some of these people do.
Oh, they'll become zealots.
Well, and if they've got zealot followers with them, they start to think that they're gods or, something like that.
If you are not like me, you must be destroyed, just like the whole thing with the BLM and Antifa crap.
Right, yeah. Same thing, yeah.
Same exact thing. It's just a different narrative.
Yep. It's a dangerous world, man. It's a dangerous world when there's not a moral center that everyone abides by. Right, rats scatter in all directions.
Yep.
All right, let's do this. I know we got a lot of super chat donations, so thank you, Mr. Uman. And let's go beat some more people with that blue wrench.
Uh-oh.
All right. Who do we want to have next? Step on up, and it's Diorce. Oh, and he's back again with a 556 super chat donation, which goes into. Folks, all the super chat donations go into the GTFB and SB. That's the Get the Fuck Back and Stay Back Fund. He says, hey, how about that election with Chirac's Mayor Beetlejuice Lori Lightfoot? I loved her BS concession speech after the fact. We lowered crime. The only way that she could lower crime is by losing the election to become mayor. And someone else gets in there and actually enforces the law, and that will lower crime. But yeah, last week, folks, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, ex-Chicago PD, friend of the channel, folks, said they call her Larry there in CPD. Anyways, Beetlejuice, God, she is an ugly woman, lost. And she blamed all of the racists and all of the sexists and all of the homophobes. She blamed everybody except herself. Her policies absolutely failed the people of Chicago, and the consequences of that are going to continue to play out for years and years. Absolutely horrible. Thank you, Doris. Okay, Jolene, let's keep on rolling. We're going to go to our 2 hours, folks. That's 120 minutes. That's a premium movie. That's a premium movie down at the theater. In fact, I haven't been to a movie theater, folks, since before Cerveza-Bug. And even then, I only saw a few movies with my kids because they wanted to. But any woke movies, no, didn't happen. Anyways, G-Man steps in with a $6.50 super chat donation. And he says, for those that have trouble with the idea of prepping, think of the pioneers. They chose to live up to the challenge. Will you? Well, that's interesting. I really like the way you've approached this. Are we today, as human beings in America, in Europe, in China, in Africa, South America, Asia, are we pioneers? Well, in a lot of ways, we are. We are pioneers on the frontier of civilization. Every day is a new day, and we move forward. We just run into a bunch of idiots, though, in the last few years as we've pioneered into the future, who want to destroy cultures, laws, peoples, and nations. So we are pioneers now at war. The challenge is to live day to day and to advance our life, right? Human civilization. The challenge, right, we're facing is someone wants to destroy us as those pioneers. So prepping, yeah. Pioneers had to bring their own guns. They had to bring their own food. They had to bring their way of life with them as they forged into the wilderness. And in this example, the future is the wilderness, the great unknown that's out in front of us. But if we fail to stand up for ourselves, folks, if we fail, guess what? If we fail, right, we die, just like the pioneers did. And we'll never get to see where this frontier leads. Now, at one point, it led to the greatness of America, the freest country on earth. And now we're moving and traveling away from that. I think we should, definitely search for a place where there's more freedom and liberty. And since we can't travel as pioneers into a physical unknown, we have to travel right up here and see our future that we create for ourselves. And you better be a prepper. If you don't see what's going on, you don't see the dangers, well, then you just don't understand your history. And I recommend looking into the history of nations that choose tyranny and totalitarianism over liberty and personal independence. Every time they try socialism, millions of people die. Anyways, great meeting you. Thank you for the donation. And Jolene, what do we want to take a look at next? It is Ron Stryker with a 30-06 super chat donation. 30-06, folks. It's not just for breakfast. It's not just for your rifle. This is what Ron has to say. He says, when I was a kid, I listened to the snap, crackle, and pop of my cereal while watching Saturday morning cartoons. Now I hear those same sounds while watching the clown show on the nightly news. Folks, that's Rice Krispies. Rice Krispies cereal, right? Snap, crackle, and pop. They had commercial. And you would watch Bugs Bunny and whatever cartoons you had Saturday morning. And that they used to have them, 6:30 till like 9. I think they made Saturday morning cartoons so kids could stay entertained while parents got to sleep in on Saturday after a hard work week. Anyways, those same sounds you hear, snap, crackle, and pop. That is, right, the clowns, the nightly news. I tell you what, I can't even watch it, Ron. I mean, I do every now and then, a little bit here and there, because I want to hear what these people are saying. I want to see what direction they're trying to drag us in as we head into the future. And yeah, it's all about clowns now. Whether you're, I mean, but Brian Setzer is gone. Don Lemon, I think, is gone. It's incredible. No one watches that shit anymore. Why would you? They thought the internet was going to be a great way to control you and me and us. Turns out it's a great way that we got to lose them. I think that's just absolutely fabulous. Unbelievable. These people are crazy. All of these left-wing clowns, you bet. Now, to give you an example of what is going on and how they're trying to push us in that crazy direction, right? There's some parents out there, and they're in the news now, and they say they knew their child was trans before it's actually a he, but now it's a she, before she could even speak, before she could ever speak, they knew that their child was trans. How is that possible, folks? Kids start speaking at age 2. Do they know who they are and what they are? It's crazy, folks. These people are crazy. It is a clown show. And that is the mental state of these SHTF leftists. And I say this, prepare for the next wave of stupid, because it is coming. Let's keep moving. Let's do some more Super Chat donations. Jolene, who do we have next? We've got Opie Waddell with a $5 Super Chat donation. And he says, well, we sell freeze-dried candy. Would you and John review it on a live stream when we send it to y'all? Sure. Let's give it a shot, man. Freeze-dried candy. I guess that would be better than on a hot summer day while communists are trying to kill me. I open up a candy bar and it melts everywhere. Maybe freeze-dried would be better. Yeah, let's give it a shot, man. Thanks, Opie. We're always up for that, folks. In fact, we get stuff all the time, or frequently, not all the time, but frequently companies send things. And then sometimes we reach out to companies and we try and provide, more stuff that goes to the preparedmind.club that we can sell to you. It was funny that the other day we found out, we didn't qualify for Company X's home garden system. I thought, well, I guess you just don't want anyone to try and talk about that shit. Well, yeah, we'll do an on-air freeze-dried candy test. You bet. And folks, let me remind you, in my opinion, candy is incredibly important for SHTF. It is. It's incredibly important. Now imagine this, if you will. Imagine a child. The world is not a happy place. Kind of like, Cerveza bug lockdown. But, scared. Maybe there's gunshots. Maybe there's sirens. Maybe there's no power. But giving a kid a piece of candy, right, kind of makes them happy. Kind of makes them feel a little better. Just a little better, right? So that's why I like to keep bags of candy, right? Takes your mind off stuff. Reminds you of better times. All right, Jolene, who do we have next on the Prepared Mind channel? It is Yorktown with a $4.99 Super Chat donation. He says, one recourse. One recourse. Mr. Yorktown. What are you saying? I know you said one recourse. I know that's what you're saying. I am guessing up here that you're saying one recourse or one course of action is what we have, and that is the only thing we have that will solve our problems. So if that's the recourse you're speaking of, I get it. Unfortunately, or sadly, or whatever the word is, we're not there yet. We're not. And I found it fascinating to discover this and then share it with people as, American Revolution. They ultimately had one recourse there. And it was to tell the King of England to go fuck himself. But the problems with the King of England didn't start in 1776, didn't start in 1774 or even 1770. The problem didn't start in 1760. The problem had been occurring for decades and decades and decades. Right? Even in the 1720s, I believe, Benjamin Franklin was writing about the attacks on free speech, right? The attempts to silence people. So it's quite fascinating that, yeah, it takes a long time for people to get to the point where they've been pushed around too long and they're left with one recourse. So it makes me especially pleased to know that the courts are upholding the Second Amendment in the literal law, the spirit of the law, the written law, etc., and including our traditions. I think that's absolutely fabulous that they're continuing to be mindful of that because we're going to need our tools when that recourse is ready to go. All right, Jolene, let's step it up. What do we have next? We have Carport Carl. And it's been a long time, man, since we've heard from you. He's got a 223 super chat donation. And he says, God bless the Prepared Mind Network. I tell you what, folks, blessings are important. 1 second. Okay. We live in a rather precarious place in history, right? There have been religious zealots and false prophets and delusional saviors. And here's one for you. Ready? Al Gore. He's going to save us from ourselves. John F. Kerry, he's going to save us from ourselves. Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, going to save us from ourselves by telling us how to live our lives. Right? The World Economic Forum, they're going to save us. They're all false prophets. They're all, folks, liars and hypocrites. They're all in it for themselves. Right. What a world. Right. I'm the prophet of prepping. I'm telling you to get prepared because things have been bad and they're going to get worse. If you can show me where the world is becoming a better, safer, more moral place with more healthy food and better government, you ahead and let me know. Let me know when we get there, and I'll cancel the channel and call it the Prepared Mind Boating Channel. And I'll go out on a boat and you guys can watch me fish or something. Until then, it's about prepping and it's about what is happening in the world out there and in your world. Okay, Jolene, let's keep on rolling. We're at the 90-minute mark. And hey, there's another name, a blast from the past. It's Damian English. Haven't heard from him in quite some time, and he's got a $20 super chat donation. And this is not good news, folks. Sadly, he says trucking is getting really bad. After nearly 12 years holding this wheel, we in the Prepared Mind community need to remember preparedness goes farther than the gun and food. When the shit comes down, we need to rebuild as well. Oh, I tell you what. Yes, there's so much more to this. We've talked about, well, shit's going to hit the fan, and then we got to go through that period until it goes to the very bottom. We solve our problems, and then we got to come out of it, right? We got to rebuild. And you don't just make a decision, okay, we're going to do this right, and then everything's fine right then. You can't just say, we know what a good structure and house looks like, and then it's built the next day. It takes time. It takes process. It takes people. It takes resources, right? People have to be willing and wanting to have things fixed. We don't have that right now. But anyways, Damon, I'm sorry to hear that trucking is getting really bad. Trucking, folks, is what keeps America, well, going. Right? Preparedness is not just stuff, guns and food and medicine, solar panels. It's more than that. It's here. And then also having a plan and seeing where this leads and understanding it. Right down the road, as we keep on trucking, there's going to be a need to rebuild that which has been destroyed. Whether we're talking about our national energy supply system, where are we going to get our energy in the future? Is it going to be the electric vehicle? Or are we going to go back to petro automobiles and trucks? Are we going to live however we want, or are we going to be shoved into 15-minute cities? Right? How do we make the world a better place? It's going to be one hell of a ride. I hope that you're all ready for it. All right, let's roll again. Jolene, who do we want to put up next? It is Mr. Skylight with a $49.99 super chat donation. And this, folks, is an incredible quote. And I want to thank you, Mr. Skylight, for all your support behind the scenes and helping out in so many ways. But I think your quotes really go a long way. Consider how hard it is to change yourself. And then you'll understand what little chance you have in trying to change others. And that is Jacob M. Brown. Interesting. Have you ever thought about that? Have you changed yourself? I have found it to be not an exercise in futility to change myself, but rather a very difficult process. Right? You don't just say, I want to be fixed, and you're fixed. Right? You have to do a lot of examining and taking things into consideration, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, when we talk about changing yourself or helping others to change themselves, right? What do we want them to do? We want them to become preppers, right? On this channel. That's what this is about. Get prepared. Get prepared. There's a lot of changing that has to go on there. If they're not already prepared up here to make that change, you're not going to convince them of anything. So, how do you get people to listen to you? It's going to be some hard work, I tell you. People need to see, right, that there's a problem and that they need to change it back to the way it was. It's interesting, right? Let's see, if you get on a go-kart on a hill and you go straight down the hill, right, AKA to hell in a handbasket, you're charging down the hill, top speed, crashing, right? Because you're doing everything you can supposedly to make life better, and it just fucks things up worse. That's kind of like the Democrat Party. But if you want to get yourself back to the top, do you take the same path? It's really kind of impossible, right? You got to go back. You're going uphill. There's a lot more rest periods, right? It's difficult to go back to take the right path again, right? So you have to be prepared for that. People that get in the go-kart, put on a blindfold, and just start going down the hill. That's what they're doing to this country with the objectionable moral stance that half the country has decided to take. That's the easy path. The path is wide, that leads to destruction. The path is downhill that leads to destruction. Anyways, we really have little chance to change others. But if we know that we're not perfect and we can change ourselves, the people, others that we would hope change, decide for themselves to change themselves, and that maybe we can participate in giving them some of the information, right, that they could use so that they can change. We can't change anyone else, folks, but we can give them the information that they need, hopefully, to help them make that decision. Thank you, Mr. Skylight, very much. Great super chat donation. And wow. We're closing in. We're down into our last 30 minutes. I've got a lot of things to talk about, but you guys have kept me busy as usual with your questions, your comments, by doing the super chat donation or Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App donations down below. Wow. I tell you what. Okay. I think we've got another one out there. Jolene, do we have one more? And it is Dior's back again. with a 556 super chat donation. He says, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea if you should consider doing your next Sunday Night Live zoo broadcast from the bow of a bass boat on a lake. I would love to do that. That would be absolutely fabulous. But you know what? If I did that, people would say, see, John's living the high life. While the world is going to shit, he's out there drinking beer and fishing because you guys have given him the money to do that. That's why I'll tell you, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be training. Right? I'm going to go into the swamps, or I'm going to go over to the coast, or I'm going to go into the mountains, or I'm going to do something. I don't want everyone thinking I'm living some fucking glamorous life. You guys got to see glamour when I was at the RMZ, wrestling the freaking chicken, and having some fun with that. It's just, it's funny. It really is. I tell you what, I look forward to the day, Diorce. I don't have a bass boat, and I don't know anybody in my area that has a bass boat. I don't know anybody. I know they're everywhere. I see them getting towed around on people's trucks. But it would be great someday to be able to do that. Maybe we can talk man come down to the Redneck Riviera and buy a bass boat. Once he sells I don't know, everything else. Maybe he can afford a bass boat then. It's not like he's made out of money. All right. Anyways, I really have thought about going to some waterway on the side of the road, parking the car and hiking in a little bit and broadcasting from there. But every time that thought occurs to me, there is no decent cell service. I've got no connectivity, so on the daily trip in, I do the 0 dark 30. And I want to thank Mr. T for all the great promos and all that stuff that we do, that he's provided, so we can make the shows more exciting and interesting. But it would be interesting to do a video from a boat somewhere. Just, you got to have good internet to do it. All right, I'm going to delve into a couple of things I wanted to talk about while I'm waiting for more of your super chat donations. I thought this is important. This is hugely important for you, no matter where you're at. Whether or not you shop at Walmart, whether or not you shop at Piggly Wiggly, whether or not you shop at Kroger or Publix or Safeway or Albertsons, doesn't matter. Walmart in the Portland, Oregon area is going to close all of their stores. Every single store, Walmart in Portland, is going to be closed because of the amount of theft that is going on, and the fact that they can't prosecute or stop anyone. If they want to walk in and steal some shit and walk right out the door, they can't be stopped. Folks, that is worse than a third world country. At least in third world countries, you do something blatantly wrong, people are going to brain you over the head with a board or a pipe and go, you can't do that. Right? Things are hard enough on everyone. We don't need thieves out there making it even worse. Well, welcome to shit show Democrat style in America. They have made it so that, thieves can steal whatever they want and the police won't do anything about it. Period. So Walmart is saying, fuck it then, we're closing. Fuck it, they're closing. So now people, whether you're poor or middle class or even wealthy, you don't have that option anymore. No longer can you go to Walmart. I say good in a lot of ways. I hate Walmart. I fucking hate them. They drove little mom and pop businesses out of business with their predatory practices. Right? By using their size, corporate power, they have hurt mom and pop stores. So here we are, folks. Now Walmart is being driven out of business by the same fucking mentality that they use to drive others. They said, well, okay, they're going to, predatory price things and drive mom and pop out of business. Cerveza sneeze. So yeah, now the left-wing communist bums have said, well, we're just going to steal your shit then, right? There you go. What are people going to buy in Portland now? These thieves who have been accustomed and used to stealing from Walmart, guess where they're going to go? They're going to go to your Marshalls and your Ross and steal clothing there. They're going to go to your food stores. I mean, what do they have there in Oregon? I think they've got Kroger's up there. I'm not too sure. Can't remember. I'm not a big fan of Oregon. Never spent a lot of time up there. We got a lot of trees and stuff. Anyways, fuck Portland also. Portland gets what it deserves. Just like all of America is getting what it deserves. We have allowed this shit to happen. It really is, folks. But welcome to this third world SHTF shit show. The quality of life, the standard of living is so bad that even crappy Walmart rejects Portland and Democrat cities. Portland's just the first city that they're doing this in. Expect it to get far, far worse and spread to other cities and states. Okay, Jolene, let's do a super chat donation. What do we got out there? We've got Damian English is back with another $10 super chat donation. He has this to say: trucking rates are down. The old heads are quitting, meaning the SALT or the veterans. He says, trucking isn't much American anymore. By the way, John, have you heard of the rat utopia experiments from the 1960s? I'm thinking it's going that way. If I remember, it's been a long time since I remember there's a lot of different rat experiments out there, folks. These experiments were behavioral. They do behavioral experiments with a lot of animals, and they use it to try and study and understand human behavior as well. For example, a psychologist named Pavlov learned that he could condition behavior based on, food. So, right, the idea that a dog, right, you'd ring a bell and hand the dog a treat. The dog was happy. He's like, the bell means I'm going to get food. Well, after a while, Pavlov could ring the bell. The dog would literally start salivating, right, knowing that a treat was coming. It's going to be time to eat. So the dog would start drooling, right? That's a Pavlovian response, is what that's called, right? So it comes from learned behavior, conditioned behavior. So rat experiments are also used. I don't know which one you're referring to, Damien, but rat utopia. I don't know that one offhand. But it has to do, I believe, with rats who are living the rat's life. Right? When the rat lives the life that it wants to live exactly, it ends up killing itself. Not through suicide, but rather through its behavior. And this exists in a lot of things. Right? Drug dealers or drug users, I should say. Right? What do they want? Well, they want that high, and they're willing to destroy their bodies and their brains, fortune, right, their money to get that, right? It's their utopia. But again, I can't remember the rat utopian experiment exactly, but there's a lot of ways they can show, right, that rats, will harm themselves, they'll destroy themselves to get what they want. It's very interesting stuff. And how hard also, folks, rats will work to get things. It's very interesting stuff, by the way, if you look into this, because I think it is truly applicable to humans. Humans are smarter in a lot of ways, but we're also very much basic in our needs, right? Food, shelter, right? Water, clothing. We have very basic needs. there's another experiment that came to mind. Had to do with monkeys. Not chimpanzees, not gorillas, monkeys. And they had all these monkeys lined up in cages. And they could see from one cage to another, they could see the other monkey. And so they were giving monkeys little pieces of banana, right? Little pieces of banana. And they were happy to get that fucking banana. They'd eat that banana. That was some good stuff, little piece of banana. Well, one day they handed monkey a piece of banana, and it's all happy eating the banana. And then they handed to the monkey next to it a grape. And the monkey that had the banana threw the banana down and was very pissed off because it wanted the grape. It wanted what the other monkey had. It believed that what the other monkey had was better, right? So is that jealousy? Is there some kind of forethought, right? Humans, monkeys, rats, lions, tigers, bears. All right, Jolene, what do we want to do next? Who is up next on the Prepared Mind channel as we close in? Holy cow, on 2 hours. It is Diorce with a $50 super chat donation, which means I get a Glenlivet 18 single malt Scotch water. Ah, yes, Scottish water, the good stuff. I was getting a little thirsty, Diorce. Prost. Oh, yeah, that is like mother's milk, I'm telling you. And he wants to write in and add a little bit. He says, to confirm what Damien English said, trucking doesn't pay what it used to. I quit driving over the road for FedEx Ground last year and started up my lineman apprenticeship in January. Linemen need to have a Class A CDL, that's a driver's license, but get paid much better. That's just awesome that you're doing the lineman apprenticeship program. I want to try and I don't want to say too much about my son and what he's done. Anyways, yeah, there's going to be trades out there, folks. There's going to be jobs that still require hardworking, intelligent Americans, and they exist. Trucking doesn't pay what it used to because, well, let's be honest. Let's be frank. When I grew up, the men that drove trucks were men. They were big, smelly, fat dudes who didn't shave, and they wore baseball hats, trucker hats, right? And they're awesome. They got the fucking job done. And they could drive, an 18-wheeler with a 20 speed or whatever fucking speed transmission they had in them. It's a lot of freaking gears, right? 10 speeds. Anyways, who do you see driving trucks now? Right, you see some of those old guys still, and you see a lot of people from other countries. Now, I've seen these people driving down south here. And of course, I saw them driving in California, but in California, the roads were much wider and the turns on and off the highway were much broader. But here in the South, folks, there's some pretty tight intersections. And I have watched some truck drivers do some incredibly questionable things. Like, well, they turn and the trailer cheats over, comes up onto the sidewalk and runs over a fucking stop sign. And the trucker did not stop. He ran over the stop sign, bent it at the ground level, and he just kept on going. He's like, fuck it. Or, oh, fuck it. I don't care anymore. I don't know what language the guy spoke, but he didn't give a shit. Anyways, that's a great super chat donation, Diorce. And yeah, folks, keep putting yourself in a position to benefit yourself the best, the most. It's you have to, right? Careers used to be, I'm going to work for Ford Motor Company or General Motors. I'm going to work for IBM or AT&T. I'm going to work for American Airlines or TWA. And that's going to be my career. I'm going to spend my entire life working for that company. Not so anymore. Now you can have 1, 2 careers, 3 careers, or 3 companies. You can work in not just one field, but 2 or 3 fields. You can completely change from one thing to another. You can go back and get a job, get a degree, get a certification and do whatever you need to do. Always be putting yourself in a position to benefit yourself, because Ford or Chevy doesn't give a fuck about you anymore. There is no TWA, I don't think, but American Airlines, Southwest, they don't give a fuck about you. IBM, who's that? Microsoft doesn't give a fuck about you. Twitter doesn't give a shit about you. And I love the fact that all these woke, retarded idiots in big tech, they think they're going to work there forever. And when they get laid off, we're told that they don't get their way. They just throw an absolute fit. Morons. All right, let us continue, folks. Shit has hit the fan. Are you prepared? Do you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and a means of self-defense? Do you got someone like Damien English who wants to talk to you? And so he says, Damien English, done by John B. Calhoun. It shows behaviors sync. Okay. The utopian rat experiment showed that behaviors sync. What does that mean, folks? They come down, right? They become, well, is a rat moral or immoral, right? If it's living in utopia, how does it behave, right? If it gets everything at once. Well, look what happened to the Roman Empire. Now we go from looking at one rat to an entire human civilization, an entire empire. Well, it became powerful, very powerful, the world's biggest power, and then it became decadent. And it became immoral, and it brought itself down. It sank. And here we are again. And every empire, as we've discussed, does this. They become reprehensibly immoral. Why? Makes no fucking sense to me, because that's not how I am. But look at what we have going on. Fucking drag queens, fruitcakes. They want kids to cut their genitals off. They think it's great. That's what happened, right? They got to their utopia, right? All the technology, military power, money in the world, and they can't handle their shit, and they just destroy everything. Unbelievable. Thank you there again, Damien English. Good to have you back. Jolene, I think we got another super chat donation as we wind down. I'll stay here as long as you guys want to talk, but typically we go 2 hours, right? But sometimes you guys want to talk a little longer, so let's do what we must on this Sunday Night Live, and it is Boomer21 back with another Canuck $10 super chat donation. And he says, I've never seen so many tractor trailers in the ditch as I do now, due to the drivers who are not here that get to cut corners on training. And there you have it. Now, see, America is a very diverse place, the United States of America. You've got mountains and valleys. You've got flat things. You've got hills. You've got deserts. You've got hot. You've got cold. You've got wet. Up in Canada, I'm not putting Canada down, but it's fucking cold in Canada. You got a lot of cold. and I would believe that Canada's road system is probably more universal than America down here. I would think that down here, it would be a bigger challenge to become a truck driver. But it sounds like Canada doesn't want it to be a challenge at all. So they cut corners on training. They make it easy to get people licensed, and then they go out there and they drive in conditions they're not familiar with. Now, when I see somebody in a truck who is rather young, not an older fellow or older woman, but a young person driving a truck, and they're wearing interesting headbands, interesting headgear, I go, does that person really understand that they're driving at 6,000 foot elevation on snowy fucking windy ass roads? Do they have they driven their whole lives? And maybe they have in Pakistan or India, driven in some really shitty roads and shitty conditions, and they understand how to handle an American 18-wheeler with complex braking systems, etc. Or do they not? Sounds like up in Canada, he's never seen more trailers in the ditch because they don't understand what's going on. They don't understand the conditions, how to drive, how to handle the equipment. Now, in California, you can have a truck and then a trailer and then another trailer. You can have 2 short trailers and 1 long one, like a 48 or a 52-foot trailer. Well, in Nevada, you can have triples. You can have a truck with a trailer, and a 3rd trailer, because they have very long, very straight roads in Nevada. And so you're allowed to pull triples. Well, if you don't know what the hell you're doing, you get that last one just fishing, it's crazy stuff. Wild world. You do it wrong, shit falls apart. One of the things that made Rome so great is, are you aware that every road in Rome had mile markers? Mile markers. They were very, very good about roads, folks. Maintaining the roads as well as marking the roads. They knew how many miles it was from one town to the next. And they had maps, extensive maps. So they knew how long it would take for any Roman garrison or legion or phalanx to go where it needed to go. Right? That helped maintain their empire. It helped them administrate it properly. Right? You didn't have to be a rocket scientist and figure out, okay, over there, right, in Constantinople, from Rome to Constantinople, how many miles is it, right? How do we get there? How long will it take? Right? They didn't have to figure that out every time something happened. They could consult books, knowledge, information. At the same time, that let's call it utopian value of having all that information ahead of you, right in front of you, books full of knowledge. They didn't have to try as hard. It just all came so easy. They forgot how to do things right, and they fucked up. Here we are in our utopia. Everything you've ever wanted is right here on the internet. Information on everything right here on the internet. Every bit of information that isn't censored, like cerveza bug and the Jim Jones juice, right? It's available. But do people use their fucking minds? No, they don't. They don't use one of the greatest gifts we have properly. Instead, they use it for debauchery. That's the world we live in as we watch this utopian ship sink. Wow. I hope you are prepared, folks, because chance favors the prepared mind. Jolene, do we have another one? Do we got another super chat donation? It is Yankee Watchdog with a $5 super chat donation. He says, who are you calling fat? I wasn't fat when I drove trucks. I tell you what, when you're a skinny little white kid, everyone looks fat. When you see a 40-year-old man get out of a truck, right, and he's got a belt buckle, big old, I love those old belt buckles that truckers had, right? And he's got his shirt tucked into it, and, he's getting out of that truck, and he's been in that fucking truck for 8 or 12 or 18 hours. He's ready to go get him some food at the diner. Who you calling fat? I am fat now. I look like those guys. But I was a skinny white kid, man. I was skinny. It's funny shit. Now, I guess there were those skinny tall truckers, and there was big fat truckers, and there were truckers of all colors. Just funny shit, man. Funny shit. All right, we're at the 2-hour mark. I want to thank you guys. There's so much information here. Can't get to it all. But I was glad that I got to all of your super chat donations. Thank you to those who bought me a scotch tonight. Really appreciate that as well. And there's going to be more to come. I think that they are messing up this war over in Ukraine, and that they're going to have to convince the world to participate, or they're going to have to stop supporting it because it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, it's Dior's checking in with a $10 super chat donation. He says, I used to pull double 28-foot pup trailers when I drove for FedEx. That's a lot of fucking trailer, man. He says, I seen other drivers for other companies pull double 48-foot refrigerated trailers when I drove through Utah. Talk about a big vehicle. That is insane, folks. when you have 48, and then you've got another probably 15 foot of a tractor trailer in the front sticking out from under the fifth wheel. That's a lot. That's over 100 foot. That's some big shit. You need like a fucking captain's license from a cruise ship to drive one of them things. Anyways, thanks, man. You guys are great. We're going to be back. I really think it's going to get nastier, folks, in a big way real soon. Joe Biden is losing steam. There's more investigations coming. The public doesn't trust them. The public is tired. The public is pissed. The public, folks, well, is really pissed. Standard of living, everything. It's going to shit. And people object to that. But the freaks, folks, the freak show, it's still going on out there. They are going to continue to fight and push for their stuff. So I'm going to leave you with an optimistic little story. Down there in Florida, there's my favorite sheriff, Grady Judd, in Polk County. Tell you what, I drove through Polk County once, and I was scared to fucking death of speeding or doing something illegal and getting arrested by Grady Judd, right? He was asked by an imbecile in the news media, a left-wing dipshit. He asked him how the new gang task force at Polk County can help gang members instead of arresting them. This left-wing loser mentality, folks, knows no bounds. Sheriff Judd responded to the idiotic left-wing question. He said, quote, "Listen, that's a bunch of hooey. That soft and cuddly feeling, we're going to hug a thug. And if we give them another popsicle and an icy and a day out at the park, they're going to be good. Y'all need to wake up. These dudes are taking y'all for fools. They're hardcore gangsters, gang bangers." And he went on to just describe what these fuckers will do to each other and others. But that's what happens when you get to this utopia, this mental place where they think they've got all the answers and everything's great. Life isn't easy ever. Even when things are good, life is difficult. And I think that's kind of what happens is they start thinking everything's fine and they can just do whatever they want and it's good. Instead, we have SHTF, folks, because of their attitudes. Thank you again for sharing your time, your thoughts. Thank you for supporting the channel, and please help others. Help them find the Prepared Mind and other channels that help them get prepared, because chance favors the Prepared Mind. And aren't you glad you are a prepper? I'll see you guys, well, bright and early. 0 Dark 30 got some new 0 Dark 30, folks. Some new awesome 0 Dark 30 intros. Thank you to Mr. T for those. You guys be cool. Semper Fi. God bless America. And chance does favor the Prepared Mind.